Hi, Zizaran here with another build guide slash update. So this is for the Zizaran Slam character. Didn't invent this, but it is really fun. Sadly, this character died, and you might be thinking, well, if it died, how good is it? Well, I died to a disconnect. So that was kind of sad because it was a character I was enjoying quite a lot, and this is something that would be really strong against bosses, really strong against clearing. So this is a ground slam impale build, and it's using the impaler, and I'll explain how that works too. You might be wondering, like, how do you play this? And you can see that pretty much after every slam, I'm pressing my W key, which is Call of Steel. It's kind of like your Magneto. If you've seen X-Men, you're like inserting metal spikes into your enemies, and yeah, it's you're pulling them out. I think with my gear and only being level 80, the only thing I managed to one-shot was like tier 11 bosses or something. Oh, and I like one-shot Uber Zaro and things like that. So we can talk a little bit about like how the build works, what makes it so powerful. But at least like you see some of the playstyle here. So the way you would one-shot a boss is you would do Seismic Cry. Let's see. And you would hit down till you have one left on your Seismic Cry. Then you would generally do you do an Intimidating Cry. Some people are also using Phase Run for this, and obviously you can have potions like Lion's Roar and stuff that I didn't have access to on SSF. But then with this, then you would place your War Banner, you would do Phase Run, and then hit. Now that hit is also instantly followed by a Call of Steel, and it ends up doing an insane amount of damage. So let's talk a little bit about the mechanic, because this is a little bit different than other builds. So let's talk a little bit about how it works. The Impaler, the way it works is that when your hits impale enemies, also impale other enemies near them, and inflict 4 additional impales on enemies that you do impale. But you can't impale for the next 4 seconds. That means that you want to get as slow as possible weapon, so this one isn't actually that good. For a lot of builds it is, because it's very high DPS, it's 680, but for our build, it isn't. So we'll explain weapons and how to craft them and stuff later. But yeah, you basically, on bosses and stuff, you're doing damage every 4 seconds. Because your hits like this isn't going to do this much, right? You really want like everything like powered up. You want to have the Call of Steel ready and then suck them back out. How does this work, right? When are you using Splitting Steel? The answer is never. You're never using Splitting Steel. We're only having this so that we get the Call of Steel skill. And this reflects physical damage around each enemy equal to the damage of the removed impales. And they're insanely big because we're powering up that one big hit with Ground Slam. And talking about Ground Slam, why are we using Ground Slam and why not other attacks? Well, Earthquake has 2 attacks, right? So it's obviously not getting multiple impales because of the Impaler. So we have like obviously the Aftershock is the really big part of the Earthquake, but that's not going to be the one doing the impale. So Earthquake's out the window. And then same with Earth Shatter. Earth Shatter like gets a lot of its damage from, you know, like spamming your Earth Shatter and making those pillars and then exploding them. Whereas with this, we want to like I said, like have the cry like this and then activate everything. So Ground Slam is pretty much like the best one. I think Sunder might work too, but Ground Slam is really, really good. And then we're Champion, which has a lot of good ascendancies. Master of Metal is really good. But the only thing that we really want here is that the impales you inflict last 2 additional hits, which makes it, I think somebody said it was a 40% damage multiplier for the Call of Steel Reflect. We don't actually get the 6 to 12 added physical damage. I mean, we do while clearing, but our clearing is insane anyway. And we're using a Lord of Steel jewel. A little bit unsure which one the best one is. This is the one I found to be the best one, because here you get that the reflect damage is 40% increased. And the jury's still out on this, but people are theorizing that it might end up being that the Call of Steel is a 50% more multiplier. Because, anyway, not 100% sure on that, but at least it's a big damage increase, and you get the AoE here as well, plus a little bit chance to impale. There's another one as well that has like the Call of Steel use speed. I found that really nice for mapping, but the AoE is definitely noticeable that it's not there. But you do want one of the Lord of Steel jewels. I'm also using a rapid expansion, giving me slightly bigger angle, and also the endurance charges. And then I just have like a fist attack damage leached as mana jewel. So, and right now I'm using maces. This doesn't actually import to Path of Building. The POB isn't fully updated yet, so it's just like, I don't know what this weapon is. So in the POB that I'm like using as an example right now, I just changed the base type to Coronal Maul, so it's like 30 or 40 more DPS than it should be. Let's talk about the weapon first, because that is really important. So obviously the Warcry 6 start 1 additional attack is nice for mapping, because I'm getting one more Warcry, and the way Seismic Cry works is that it's powering up your next attacks, but it's powering it up more each time. So on the last one here, I'm getting like infinite power. And you can see that it actually goes off screen. However, the best weapon you can get for this is actually Karui Chopper. You basically want as high like average damage as possible, and you don't really care about the speed. This also makes that Ulna Tool Axe really good for this. And as far as last time I checked, it was pretty cheap in softcore. It was like 20C, 10C. That might go up in price because it is quite rare. So when people start buying it, yeah, it can increase in value. Now, thankfully, making these weapons aren't too bad when you're not really just looking at DPS. A really, really good case scenario, which we can give as a quick example here in Path of Building, would be something like a Karui Chopper that has flaring and merciless, and you don't really care about the attack speed. Which is nice, because on a lot of other builds, you do care a lot about the actual DPS and not just like how much damage it does. Let's see like an actual really, really good damage weapon, right? Just by having these two, you can see that the top end, even though this is actually less damage than the weapon I'm doing here, like it does have less. The one I'm using right now is something like 680 or 690 DPS. But you can see that the top end 471 to 771 compared to my 356 to 636. So this would be a lot more damage for bosses with just those two stats. And I'd say that it's pretty easy getting one that has like similar top end damage to mine, like 600 to 650 should be fairly easy. And I do have this video, how to craft axes in Path of Exile, which basically covers like a lot of, this is pre-harvest too, so it's very, very up to date. Covers like how to make different axes. So again, Karui Chopper is your best bet for this. I wouldn't bother crafting on an Impact Force Propagator, because it's slightly faster and it just doesn't have as much base damage. And axe nodes are slightly better for this than mace nodes. For example, here you have like the Impale effect. Go over some other stuff. So if I click on Ground Slam here, you can see I have a 100% chance to impale. Like we're getting a chance to impale from Master of Metal. We're getting chance to impale from the Harpooner stuff here. And then we're also using the gem. And early on, I used the Dread Banner while leveling. But then War Banner very quickly becomes really, really strong with the, you know, the adrenaline effect, right? So you're putting down the War Banner like boom, and then slamming Call of Steel. So much damage, such damage. Early on, it was pretty much whatever with Ground Slam, right? Just, you know, like Maim, added fire, Onslaught, and Ground Slam. But then once we got like 31, then I had Impale, I had Ground Slam, Pulverize, and Fist of War. Fist of War is so nice because we're, again, not trying to attack very often. So that ends up being 142% more damage with hits on that like big hit. So it's perfect for this build. It really becomes some hilarious damage. Then the fifth thing would be like Brutality. And yeah, sixth thing would be Melee Physical. Other than that, not everybody's using a Combs Heart. I found that really nice. Like I'm only level 80 and I do have like more life nodes I could take. We could go up here as well, or fill in like, actually we don't really have much more jewels we can take. But I think I'd be able to get like 9.5k life by like level 95 fairly easily. There's not really any cluster jewels I really wanted for this either. Instead of using steel rings, which would be great, but I ended up using 2 unset rings. You can see here I have like Pride and Splitting Steel here. My other stuff is Second Wind, Intimidating Cry, Seismic Cry, and Urgent Orders. Second Wind, Flame Dash, and Smoke Mine. The way I play with Flame Dash is you would do like this. And that is like a really, really, once you get the feel for it, it ends up being really nice. Why aren't we using Leap Slam? There are several reasons. Don't use Leap Slam. First of all, if you don't have this, then your Leap Slam is going to be using your Exerts, right? I don't understand why it's not the opposite way. For most of the time, you would never want your Leap Slam to be the thing you're caring about for damage, right? You never want your Leap Slam to be using your Intimidating and Seismic Cry Exerts. So it should be the opposite way. Hey, I'm doing a Leap Slam build. I'll put 1 point into this for my Leap Slam build that like 1 in 50,000 people are doing. So that's slightly tilting as a design point. But other than that, there is a second reason, and that is because of the Impaler. Because if I land on an enemy and then like I've landed with Leap Slam doing a tiny small impale, then you know, either I have to kill it with Call of Steel or I have to wait 4 seconds until I can slam it. So, you know, whether you want to just use Flame Dash or Phase Run or whatever, just don't use Leap Slam because that is going to screw you over. Let's talk a little bit about how I level this as well. Obviously, this isn't intended to be like a first build or starter build. This is more a second or third character. Obviously, you are relying on having things like Lord of Steel. But let's talk a little bit about how I leveled it anyway. So I have a play with me video for this. It's like, I think it's 3 or 4 hours that actually covers like super in-depth leveling where you can see the entire journey. And the skill tree went something like just went for Art of the Gladiator, Destroyer. Then I went over here and picked up Life and Mana Leech. Then I could instantly drop my Mana Flask. Then I went for Measured Fury and then pretty much straight for the Impaler. Actually might have picked up Golem's Blood and then straight for the Impaler. You basically want the Impaler for when you hit level 31. Then I moved over here for the Harpooner. Then I just started filling in life nodes, Fortify. I don't think I took any of the Fortify nodes until I had my 3rd Ascendancy. So the first one is Master of Metal. Second one is Unstoppable Hero. And you could use Fortify as a gem link at this point, especially if you're on a 6th link. But then I just did Cruel and Merc Lab around level 60 because Cruel Lab doesn't really do anything. I only had a 4 link and I didn't want to put in Fortify. And then obviously Inspirational is the last one. I feel like you needed it for the Banner Reserve. As far as skill points going forward, I'd be going for the life up here. And ideally, I would have had an axe and then taken axe nodes would have been really good. Oh, bandits, kill them all. 2 skill points. Annoyance would... Martial expertise is really nice. I don't know if there's anything else I would do. Oh, there is. There's the hidden one. What's it called? This would be really, really nice if you have 2 gold. So Crimson, Gold. Transfiguration of Body makes that the life nodes give attack damage at 30% of their value. So if you have 100% life, that's 30%. If you have 200% life, that's 60%. Plus it gives life. But yeah, other than that, like just generic life gloves with resists. Dex on the belt because I felt like I struggled on getting dexterity on this build. Attack and cast speed on the boots just for like help with clearing. And as for leech, we're getting that from Blood Rage. You could get leech on boots too. But yeah, just generic boots with Blood and Sand, Flesh and Stone, War Banner, and Maim support. The Maim, as you can see, is linked to Flesh and Stone to make the... and we're in Blood stance pretty much all the time. That makes the Maim do more damage. Another ring here with Dex. This amulet is going to get asked about a lot. Why are we using this amulet? Well, I found it and it was nice. Well, why are we using this amulet at all? It's missing a prefix and a suffix. Well, don't know why this isn't included in the actual prefix or like implicit, but if you hold Alt down, you can see that it's giving 25% increased effect. So that means that with 20 quality on life on this and hitting the tier 1 life roll, it would be like 120. My math is terrible, but like 120 life or something like that. So you can see that it is giving the 25% increased effect. The helmet, I mean, I don't get access to that many helmet chants on SSF, so this is what I went with. Yeah, just throw a greed essence on it. And then Clum's Heart, really, really nice just for the 500 life. You could use like an incursion chest. Those are the ones that have the life and percentage life roll built into one. You can still craft percentage life on those. They would be really nice. And then you still have sockets. Pantheons, I'm using Ralakesh and Sol Solaris. Probably should be using Shakari. But yeah, Solaris and Shakari is pretty nice. Don't use Ancestral Protector or Ancestral War Chief because that's going to be, again, eating your Impaler or eating your Impales. You don't want that. And again, remember, if you have mana problems, roll something like this. Just the physical attack damage leached as mana is what you need. And until then, you can just grab the 0.4 leech here. And again, it was very, very enjoyable build to play. I will be remaking it. I'm trying to make a Karui chopper at the moment. There is that jewel. It's the, hopefully Scry, I can find this and put it on the screen. So I can't remember what it's called, but it's a replica jewel. And it is like, it gives you +5 rage. It gives you -9 mana cost. And the minus mana cost was quite nice. So again, this character is called Zizaran Slam. If you want to import and look at that, it won't import the Impact Force Propagator, but shit happens. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and obviously it's less hand-holdy than the starter builds I do, but hopefully it helps some of you. I just wanted to get a guide out there quickly on this, even though I died, just because I know it was so fun to watch play, and it felt really good. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and try to die less than I do.